Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Check this out. On this podcast, we're going to talk about our top 5 diss records in hip hop history. Now, if you're a hip hop fan, some of these songs should appear on your list. If not, hey, we can debate it. And I got a special guest coming through, the homie Tyrone, aka 77th_Wonder from the Tactless Know-It-Alls podcast. Programming note: during the recording of this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast, I did experience some technical difficulties in recording, and so some of the words that you may hear be somewhat choppy, if you will, but you can still hear and understand what we're saying. Now, I take full responsibility for that, and instead of having Tyrone come back and record it again, it was just so authentic. I figured, hey, we'll just drop it and put the programming note out there. So if you're listening and you don't like it, hey, let me know. Nevertheless, sit back, relax, we'll drop the theme music, and we'll get the podcast jumping. Let's get it. Welcome back. As I mentioned in the intro, we're talking about our top 5 diss records in hip hop, and I had to when I thought about this topic, man, because at the time of this recording in 2018, there were a few diss records released, none of which made my list, but but nonetheless, someone like me who's tenured in hip hop, man, when I thought about it, I was like, I got to get this cat on, because anytime you talk hip hop, you want to have people on that talk hip hop that know what the hell they talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I got to bring on, man, good friend of the show. This is his first podcast. I've been on his podcast, the Tactless podcast. He is one half of the Tactless podcast. You know him as 77th_Wonder, aka my boy Tyrone. Ty, what's up, man?
Man, it's an honor right now. Yeah, the half of the podcast about hip hop, because
right. The other half don't talk.
Yeah,
shout out to me.
Not really. Yeah, shout out downstairs chilling.
No doubt, No doubt. Well, yeah, man, I had to get you on. When I thought about this, I was sitting in traffic one day, man, and I've been on your podcast a couple of times, man, and I think. I'm pretty sure off the mic we probably talked a lot about hip hop. I don't know, do we have?
Oh, man, we sat in here.
Yeah, we talked a couple of hours at your crib?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And so, true heads. And I was sitting in traffic the other day, and I was like, man, you know what? It'd be nice to talk about a top 5 diss records, because one of the diss records that I heard was actually on my shuffle. I was listening to him on my way to work, and I thought about you, and I was like, I got to get him on the podcast, and I definitely got to get back on your podcast.
No doubt.
And I listen to you guys drop podcasts every Monday, which is so dope for me because Mondays, a drag for most people.
Oh, about it, man. And it's funny because we always try to drop it. Like the one thing that we tried to stick with is consistency, but y'all don't know how shaky that shit be. It's like real shaky. Some of the Mondays, I know one Monday he was like, yo, what's up?
Yeah, because I didn't see it. I got in the car and I was like, I was on my way to, because that's what I do. I'm on my way to work. I listen to y'all on the way to work on Monday mornings, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't see this shit. I was like, let me hit Ty. I'm gonna shoot him a text. Hey,
it was one of them days, boy. I was actually working on it at that time because it was like late at night. I was like, shit, I'm going to bed. And then I got that text. I was like, damn it. Let me go ahead and get on my shit, man.
Hey, well, you know, if ain't nobody else listening, I'm listening. But yeah, man, we're talking top 5 diss records. Now we came from, for the people listening, Ty and I came from an era where we experienced the golden era of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? People actually rapped. Where,
like for real, like their life depended on it, because sometimes it did.
Right. So, again, no knock on the, those who are out there rapping now. I mean, the young boys, they got it, but I'm going to go out, and I don't know what's, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Migos didn't make his list.
Close, but no star. No, they didn't make it, man. They didn't make
There'll
it.
be no skirts on here. So.
No, none. I really thought it was because when you told me about it, and like you said, for the people out there, we didn't discuss anything about who's on my list, who's on your list, but just like anything else, because we come from like that same golden era, it's inevitable we're probably going to end up some point on the same track. It's inevitable. If you mention anything from 2018, you're gonna throw me for a fucking loop for real. Like, I'm gonna be real surprised at that.
Nah, there's nothing from 2018. I mean, 2018 was a good year, I guess, for rap. But for hip hop, not as much. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's feeding those who need to be fed, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, we grew up in an era where I guess. And if you didn't come up in the era that we came up in, just to give backstory, a diss record back in the day was really a lot of times something where it was just left up to the interpretation. Didn't necessarily have to say someone's name per se. I remember growing up, like, we thought that because it was all about what we call subliminal disses, and I remember growing up, we thought that Kane and Rakim were throwing subliminal disses at each other. Nobody was always fodder for us to talk about as hip hop fans, but nobody could confirm because, there was no internet. There was nobody to say, hey, Rakim, are you subliminally dissing Big Daddy Kane? And, anything like that. So, I
think a lot just wanted it to happen just because it would have been very interesting.
No question.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't, and that as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't fit my criteria of a good diss record. I really actually hate that. That's one of the things I hate. But
no doubt. I think for me it was something that got us hip hop fans talking. You know what I'm saying? If we could just, and like you said, a lot of times it wasn't even whether or not somebody was really dissing them or not. It was just our interpretation of whether or not it was actually. And a lot of times, maybe there was no diss there anyway, and we were just, amping it up just because you have this faction of guys and this faction of guys as far as hip hop. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna break down our top 5. Ty's his are in no particular order. I've actually got mine listed out. So give me one that's on your list in your top 5 diss records.
Well,
why you selected it.
Well, see, first I got to give you a backstory though.
Go ahead.
So, in order to come up with a list, because when you texted to me, I was like, okay, cool. But the thing about it is, what my list is going to consist of may not fit anybody else's list, or it may, because my criteria is different. Like I was saying earlier, the one thing that I've always hated about quote unquote diss tracks is when it's ultra subliminal. Okay. Like I really do like when you just lay it on the line. There's no mistaking one way or the other. I don't have to guess. I don't have to figure it out. That's one of the criteria that I like about a good diss track.
Okay.
Right. Another thing is the actual opponents. I don't like lopsided battles. Like, that is not interesting to me. And I think that when you have a very lopsided battle, like for instance, when Eminem and Benzino had their little things, dude, is that really a fucking battle though? Like
KRS-One and Nelly.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, that's not really a battle. That's basically a high schooler fighting a fifth grader. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know what's going to happen, and it's not really interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, some of the things, clearly Eminem didn't really, that battle, spoiler alert, it didn't make my fucking list at all.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
I'd hang up this podcast.
Yeah, right. So another thing too is I know the backstory, because I know that there's some battles that start because one person is hot and the other person's not. And they'll use it, the person that's not hot will just use it as some sort of springboard to get their career jump started. You know what I mean? Like a whack, but it happens. And I think one of the last things is how truthful you are. Like, if you're just on if you're just on a mic saying shit because it rhymes and it really has no basis in reality, is not really interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? As a I guess a diss track. So saying all of that, there's some that probably won't fit all of those things, but that's usually, I've noticed that that's the pattern, like the shit that gets me hyped when I hear a diss track and I'm like, oh, okay, this nigga's really like angry. This is not for play. Right. You know what I'm saying? So the first one actually is a 10% diss. MC
Okay.
Like that fucking track has always been one of those songs that just, I don't know, it's just it's in essence hip hop to me. You know what I'm saying? Like she started that song out on Hot Damn Ho, Here We Go Again. Just from the beginning. That intro alone made that song just fire to me. And you know, Light can rap her ass off, especially at that time. You know, this is when she was at her prime, really.
Yep.
You know, because I just happened out of Poor Georgie time. She started kind of sliding down a little bit.
Right.
Not skill wise, but she was just making more poppy tunes to me.
She was going for the charts.
Right. And, you know, I guess rightfully so. If you can reach them, do your thing. But that particular track is one of those that has to be in my top 5. It's definitely not number 1, but it's definitely always going to be in my top 5 because I just thought that was a ruthless track. Although Antoinette was not on the same level, you know, but the sentiment behind that track was what I liked the most. Cause I don't know if a lot of people know, but essentially Audio 2 had a song, right? So, God, I can't remember the name of the song. It's like the only song that you can name from Audio 2.
Top Billin'.
Okay. I don't know why I went blank, but yeah. So Antoinette takes the beat.
Yep.
For the youngins out there, that was a fucking no. You don't take somebody else's beat. You don't bite nothing. No lyrics, no beat, no style, no clothes, no nothing. And Light is Milk D's younger sister.
Either sister or cousin.
Sister or cousin. They related some.
Like yeah.
Right. And so that was it. That was enough. She just went in on the chick. That's it. You know what I'm saying? She just went in on the chick. And that, I don't remember hearing from Antoinette too much after that. That was it. You know? And she laser focused on Antoinette that entire fucking song. Period. And just demolished her. So that one's in my top 5 for that reason.
No doubt. And shout out to my boy Eclectic, aka Tweet Rhymes Life. He
one of these days we're gonna get all 3 of us.
Yeah, we gotta do that for real. Yeah. He's not a huge fan of Light being called the female goat. He did a podcast. Me and him did a podcast recently that was recently released, and we talked about that. But yeah, in that time, man, I think Light got her, and Antoinette was solid. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Again, great point. She bit his music, his beats.
Right.
You can't, that. Listen, young people listening. Because at Ty and I are very tenured in hip hop. The one thing that you could not do, you did not want to sound like anybody else, and you could not bite somebody else's style or somebody else's beat. That's why when you listen to a lot of the golden era MCs, well, most of the golden era MCs, everybody sounds so different is because that's, you weren't trying to sound like anybody else. And biting somebody's beat and taking somebody's beat, that was, like, in the streets, you get beat up for that. Like, it was just that serious.
It was a no.
Oh yeah, no. And yeah, I love that track by Light, man. That's one of my favorite tracks from Light. And I think it helped, solidify her position as, because a lot of people feel like she's one of the greatest female MCs of all time.
I don't know where to get that from, but she's very good.
Well, you know what it is, and we kind of talked about it on the podcast. Like, to some degree, it's kind of by default because there really wasn't a lot of female MCs back then. So, we kind of had we really didn't have much back then. But,
no, that's true, and I think Light did have a certain pedigree about her. Like she was up for the challenge. Like she didn't have a problem, and you never really caught her with a whole bunch of whack ass, songs one behind it. She put out a solid album. She could put out a solid song. She was always solid. You know what I'm saying? So, and consistent with her lyrical skills. So I guess that's where people are getting it from, but I don't know about that.
No doubt. My number 5, I would venture to say that I've got it at 5, but it's probably going to be higher on a lot of people's lists. I have it at 5 for a reason, and that's Tupac's "Hit 'Em Up." I think the reason I have it at 5, because I'm sure some of you listening are like, man, why he got it at 5? I don't even have it.
It's not even on my list. So
you know, I knew it wasn't gonna make your list. So I was like, that's perfect.
But I love the song.
Yeah, the song was so crazy.
No, all right, let me rephrase that.
No.
I love the verse.
Exactly. And you went right where I was going. The reason why it's at 5 is because of Tupac's verse.
Right.
And it would be higher if it were only Tupac's verse. But for some reason, man, Tupac put the Outlaws on this. And I don't know none of the Outlaw dudes, and I don't want to offend no Outlaws if y'all out there looking. I don't want no smoke. But y'all were whack. And here's the thing, people. You can't have a diss record and have a bunch of people on the record and call it a diss record. It's like, it's like I'm going to fight somebody and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to hit you a couple of times and I'm going to bring Ty in and he going to finish you. No.
Yo, what's the point? Yeah, what's my part in that?
Exactly. So Tupac's verse, I mean, it was killer. I mean, like, he starts off, first off, fuck your bitch and the clique you claim when we ride come equipped with game. Dang. You claim to be a player, but I fucked your wife. We bust on bad boy niggas for life.
Damn.
I mean, that was the opening.
Yeah. That's one of those things where you're listening and you just hoping this nigga don't mention your name.
Man.
Like, he's definitely out for blood.
I remember the first time I heard it, my mouth was just open. Because, like, it was subliminal stuff, this quote unquote East Coast, West Coast beef was bubbling, which I think was all fabricated. And that's another story for another day. But Pac just came out with that. And then the part about I fucked your wife was that Faith had agreed to do a hook on one of Tupac's songs. And I think they were kicking in the studio and some photographer was in there, something like that. And for a magazine, it might have been Right On or some shit like that. And they took a picture. And so the picture, to my knowledge, or at least to the public's knowledge, that was the only time that Faith and Pac had been together publicly. But he made her being on the hook of the song that was coming on his album, and Pac being Pac, he had the world thinking that he banged Faith. Now, whether or not he did or not, I don't know. But we'll never know. But it sent Biggie into a tizzy nonetheless, and caused problems for Biggie and Faith, who were married at the time. And I mean, like, you just can't come. I mean, Ty and I are married. You can't come out with your wife. No, that's, I mean, like,
that ain't gonna work. We ain't rapping no more. No, this ain't rap no more. This ain't rap no more. Fuck that. You ain't playing no track. You tell me fuck my wife. I ain't getting in the booth.
Right. No.
Fuck that.
Yeah, it's going to just us talking over some beats.
Yeah, you don't play me instrumentals and shit. No. So, doing something else.
So yeah, that song, I mean, his Tupac's verse was and like Ty said, I'm big on, your validity of your rhymes and, what you're actually saying. And I mean, he went right at Biggie. I got to give him his props. He went right at Biggie. And so, if the Outlaws were not on it, I would have it listed higher. But yeah, that's my number 5.
That's a good pick, and it's actually appropriate that it wouldn't be a number 1 because mainstream. You ask people and they think that's the greatest shit ever, but they never really listen to the fact that honestly, as soon as you hear "Get Out the Way," you ask for it, and you get, "Hey, don't sick yourself." Like, you don't listen to. Exactly. I could not fucking recite any of the Outlaw shit, honestly.
Me either.
And piggybacking on that though, and I guess didn't make my list, is because I do think that another one in my top 5 is still from Tupac, but it's Against All Odds.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that. Like I said, that didn't make my top, like Hit 'Em Up didn't make my top 5 because like I said, I don't necessarily think that Tupac was carrying the song on his own, and to have all these other people that, yeah, they're your boys and shit, but they don't really have a problem with Biggie, so why the fuck song?
Exactly.
You know, but the bigger point was, from my perspective, I always felt like Tupac was a thinker. As far as lyrically, and a lot of people might not agree, I don't think Tupac was the most lyrically potent nigga ever.
No.
Don't think that was his strength.
I agree totally.
I think Tupac's strength was his ability to see the bigger picture and make an actual concept and make you see it and just really get intricate in his lyrics. He didn't be extremely lyrical and rhyme a whole bunch of words, double rhyme scheme and all that shit. He didn't have to do that. He was impactful with his lyrics, right? When you get to Hit 'Em Up, he was extremely emotional. And that emotional Tupac was not the best version of Tupac for me. Against All Odds was more school.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was Tupac being Tupac. That was him just basically like, yo, I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to do all of that. I'm going to just pick y'all niggas off one at a time. Remember what you thought? Like, remember what you said, nigga? You remember that shit? What, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's Tupac to me. Just straight up spitting facts and just letting you know, I don't have to do all the rah-rah shit. This is what it is. Y'all niggas know what's up. And when you see me, nigga, you going to see me.
Right.
That's what it's going to be. All the other shit, the Hit 'Em Up just felt like fanfare. It just felt like he was angry at the time when he wrote it. And I mean, clearly. And he didn't really have anybody around him that would be like, yo, Pac, listen, understand you mad with this nigga and everything, but don't try to get on a track and just say the most hurtful shit you could say about him and Mobb Deep just for the sake of saying it, because you're better than that. You know what I'm saying? You can still do it in a different way. So that's why Against All Odds is, I would say 2, 3, and he did the whole fucking song by himself. The Outlaws didn't fucking show up, so that's a positive.
Yes.
That to me is twice as good as Hit 'Em Up. Like I said, Hit 'Em Up is so vicious, it's easy for people to kind of latch onto it and be like, oh shit, Pac went off. But if you really sit down and listen to Against All Odds, the nigga was just, that's, you know, sitting in the studio getting blowed. That's it's the realest shit he ever wrote. It's just really kind of, it's really kind of Pac, like just being that nigga that's just like, yo, you don't want, you really, nigga, go ahead now. I already told you stop fucking with me, but if you keep on fucking with me, I'm gonna just get in your ass. That's the version, you know. So that would be another one in my top 5.
Okay. Against All, and for those listening, who was dissed on Against All Odds?
Oh God, it was Buffy.
Maybe I shouldn't say who was.
Yeah, who wasn't this? I think Jimmy Henchman was on there. I think. Yeah, Puff. It's like hard. Yeah, Puff. Shit. I wanted to say Chino XL, but no, that was Hit 'Em Up. Which Chino is like, nigga, he
Pac
barely deserved it.
He had a couple of subliminals on there where he could have been talking about, but I do know he was Jimmy Henchman.
Yeah, he did.
Because he felt like he was a part of the Quad City studio shooting where Tupac was coming to visit Biggie and he got shot, and he thought that
set up. Right. And that's even more reason. Like, if you thought that a guy set you up to get shot, you would think that would be the Tupac that would be on Hit 'Em Up. But when you get that calm Tupac that's really calculating and thinking and writing his lyrics and just saying, I'm gonna be very clear, buckers. Personally, for me, I prefer that Tupac. So I just prefer that song. And like I said, if I had to rank Hit 'Em Up, if I just absolutely had to rank Hit 'Em Up, it might make my top 10, but it's definitely not in my top 5.
Okay. All right. So you got your second one at Against All Odds. It's funny you mentioned that because I have that down written. I wrote down a couple of honorable mentions. I do have that one written down as honorable mention. My number 4, man. When I heard this, it did so much because I didn't see it coming. I mean, we saw it coming, but we didn't see it coming, and that was Jay-Z's Take. If just to give a backstory for those of you who weren't around or maybe couldn't come outside because you were lame. For you, Jay had been going back and forth subliminally with Nas. You know, it had kind of came to the end basically, and you know, and I think Mobb Deep had gotten some shots in there as well, and goes to the infamous Summer Jam concert, and he just does a verse, you know, talking about Mobb Deep, and you know, he puts up the picture of Prodigy in the, you know, not ballerina. I mean, he was in the Prodigy spent, I think, grandmother owned a ballet studio, and you know, so Prodigy danced as a child. So Jay-Z somehow got a hold of this. Is long before photoshopping and putting people's business out.
It had to be real then.
He had a real picture of Prodigy as a child dancing, and he put it up on the screen. Now this is hardcore gangster Prodigy, you know, as a child, you know, in this picture dancing. And so he does the verse about Prodigy, and then ends the verse with "Ask Nas, he don't want it with Hove," and that was it.
Yeah.
And then he stopped the song. And so then Nas came back, and Nas had a verse, and I think Nas's verse, it was on a mixtape, Clue tape. I think that's where I heard it. And you know, Nas said some things about Jay-Z. I don't know if he actually mentioned Jay-Z's name, but we knew he was talking about Jay. Well, what Nas didn't know was that there was a second verse just strictly dedicated to him. So when the Blueprint album comes out 2011, I think, 2001, something like that.
No, it's 2001.
2001,
yeah.
Okay. The album comes out, not only the Prodigy diss verse is on there, but the verse that we didn't hear about Nas. And I mean, Jay-Z is going in, breaking down Nas's career, and I was blown. I mean, because anybody knows me, I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, but I'm a huge Nas fan. To have two of my favorite MCs going at it, and this time, you know, it's pretty obvious. There's no more subliminal. They are just, I mean, he mentions Nas's name, you know, because that's where the verse starts. And you know, I thought he ended Nas' career. I mean, I literally thought it was over. I didn't know how Nas could come back from that. And
I agree with that.
I was, and it's not like, you know, which is funny when I think about, you know, nowadays in hip hop where somebody disses somebody and they're like, oh, you know, a couple of days have to pass by, they got to get in the studio and they got to make another record. No, I mean, Nas actually sat quiet for like 9 months before he responded to Jay-Z. But I'll get into his response because that also made my list. But I thought it was over. I literally thought it was over for Nas. I didn't see any, because in the line that I think really stood out when he broke down Nas's career, because at
it
that
was
particular
That's the worst part about it.
At that particular time, you know, there was a lot of truth to saying, you know, that Nas had Illmatic, and you know, after that he went for the pop charts. You know, some people didn't like, you know, the second album as much as Illmatic. There are some people out there that actually think that's bad, which I think is crazy, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. But
it's a solid album.
Yeah,
it's not as bad as people make it, but it's definitely not Illmatic.
Well, you know, and I think, you know, he went for the pop charts too, you know, and
right.
You know, you got the Lauren joint, If I Rule the World. So Jay kind of broke down his career, and I think that touched the nerve. And I honestly, man, I thought it was over for Nas. I mean, Jay, again, he was on top, and there was nobody hotter than Jay-Z at the time. And Takeover, man, was one of those. It was one of those things, man. When you heard it the first time, you just like, whoa, I can't believe this, because, like I said, we heard the even those of us who did not go to the Summer Jam, because keep in mind, you know, this was, the internet really wasn't popping like it is now, so you know, we couldn't just go to Twitter and find out, you know, see what happened at Summer Jam. You know, there were reports about it. You know, I think there was a video or something like that came out later. But most of the stuff we found out later, and we did hear the audio. And again, they cut the song off before the Nas verse. And so it looked to me like Jay-Z set Nas up. Like, he set Nas up, and Nas took the bait, and Jay-Z just punched him out. And Takeover, man. I got it at number 4.
Yeah, I mean, I everything you said, man, is like it's taking me back to that time because when I heard it, because there's some rappers that you really don't think of as being in a battle, and Nas was one of those people prior to that. Like right now, a lot of people, post Ether, everybody's like, oh yeah, Nas can handle it, but you weren't really sure how Nas was going to be going to respond, or if he'd be respond, because Jay-Z's just a clever nigga, and sometimes Nas is too clever for his own good. You know what I'm saying? Like ain't nobody trying to hear fucking metaphysical fucking
shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like if somebody comes straight at you, you think, like, is Nas going to be able to do that? Is he going to really be able to respond in that manner? I mean, we found out, but at the time you didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And I always thought of these two like Magic and Bird. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like when I said before that I don't like lopsided battles, it was one of those where it was like, no, both of these niggas can rap though. So it's really, and to your point about how long it took, the interesting thing and the fascinating thing about that is that we as fans were okay with waiting.
Yes.
It didn't matter to us.
It didn't matter.
It wasn't like, oh, Nas lost because he didn't fucking respond by Thursday. This nigga Jay-Z dropped it on Tuesday. Like, it wasn't like that. It was, whenever you come out, you need to address this shit. It's 2 years later. We just need to know that you weren't punked. That's it. And to his credit, he did come back. You know what I mean? But it wasn't like we as fans were rushing him and pressuring him and telling him, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't an environment because Nas didn't know what the fuck we thought. He didn't care what we thought because there was no way for us to get on the internet and for him to read blogs and all this other shit that said, well, Nas lost the battle. It's like, nigga, I didn't even write nothing yet. Like, give me a chance.
Exactly.
But this is one of those that actually didn't make my list.
Okay.
Not that I didn't like it. It's just, it did not actually make my list only because of the fact that that battle went, it seesawed back and forth. And to this day, you can't get 5 people in the room who won that battle. You just can't fucking do it. And I think that's a testament to that battle. You know what I'm saying? It's not really saying that Jay-Z's better than Nas or Nas is better than, I just think that's a testament to that battle of diss tracks that they went, and Jay-Z got disrespectful, which to me, there's no rules in battle. So,
none.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck.
On your baby seat.
Exactly. Hey, he wrote it.
Right.
As long as he made it rhyme, it's within the rules as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying? But I really felt like that battle was so evenly yoked that I really couldn't. It's hard. And I know you said that, the response is on your list too, and that was one of my problems. Okay. Because you can't really pick one without picking the other side because they were so evenly. It's impossible. They were both really good responses, and also like you said, Jay-Z did set him up.
Yo, he set him up.
But for a victim, Nas showed out. Nas definitely showed up and showed out. But again, it was only one verse. It was really one verse dedicated to Nas.
Yeah.
And the other shit was dedicated to Mobb Deep. So it's kind of like, as a song, as a diss track, it's a good diss track, but
I'm surprised it didn't make your list, but that's cool that you don't even have it on.
That was close, but
I see how. And it was I think I was just amazed, man. I just kept playing it. I was like, man, I cannot believe it. And then felt, I was kind of torn because, like, again, both of these are my guys. Like, I love both of them as MCs. And I mean, he said, use your brain. Been in this 10, I've been in it 5. Smarten up, Nas. 4 album in 10 years, nigga. I can divide. That's a one every, let's say 2. Two of them shits was due. One was nah. The other was Illmatic. That's a one hot album every 10 year
average. What can you do about that, man? Like, if somebody come at you like that, and that's why I said it's like, it's hard because it's the truth. And it's funny because before Jay said it, I had never looked at it that way.
Nope.
But then it's like you want to be mad because Nas your nigga.
Right, exactly.
Like, why the fuck he gonna say that shit ain't
true? Don't do it, Jay. Don't do it to him. And then
it's kind of true, though.
And then the cherry on top was the last line he said, because you know who did what, who. Let's just keep that. And none of us knew what that meant.
Nope.
Of course, this was pre-TMZ, so we had no idea of knowing what this meant. And so, so if you're Nas and you're hearing this, you like, fuck, what the hell am I do?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that's my 4, man. What you got on your next one?
Well, Jack the Ripper. I'll just put it that way. If there's a person out there that has to make, in my opinion, a top 5, I don't care what song you pick.
Right.
But I just feel like LL is one of them niggas that it just got to be. And Jack the Ripper is just it's not Mom That Knock You Out, none of that. It's the Ripper just because that shit was a fucking jam. And he just happened to be going in. Now
he went in too.
Yeah, and he never really was. This was mostly subliminal. So like I said, not all of these fit all of that criteria, but when you hear that shit though, it's one of those songs where this nigga LL was just on his shit, and he's kind of. It's one of those songs that put him in that untouchable phase. Like don't fuck with LL.
You don't want to battle.
Don't fuck with him. Yeah, exactly. You never know what angle he gonna come from, and it's worse. That even with him, he was telling the truth. I just don't think that Kool Moe Dee was really, really ready.
No,
I don't think he was really, really ready. Nah, I think he thought at some point LL was young and he was gonna run out of gas, and it became clear to us on the other side of this shit, everybody but Kool Moe Dee, that wasn't gonna happen.
Go run out of gas.
No, he was, and like crazy because he was just getting stronger. I'm getting busier. I'm double platinum. You know what I'm saying? Like,
dizzier.
What the fuck? You listen to a song like that and it's like you're still thinking about some of the lines, and he's already moved on to some other shit to punch Kool Moe Dee in the face. And don't get it twisted. Kool Moe Dee was a beast at that time. Yes. However, he wasn't any match for James. That's just one of those songs that for me is really just an awesome fucking example of what the fuck LL can do when the nigga put his mind to getting in your ass. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, it's funny. And ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the reasons why I got this cat on here, because most people wouldn't even pull that song, but that is a dope ass diss record. I mean, like, he dissed the hell out of Kool Moe Dee. And
yeah, just never stopped. It's just never ended. You know what I'm saying? This nigga had like 5 verses.
The only thing that we could kind of grasp to when he said, "How you like me now? I'm getting busy. I'm double platinum. I'm watching you get dizzier." So that was, Kool Moe Dee had the song.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of tied it in, because he doesn't mention Kool Moe Dee's name, but we know that he's clearly talking about Kool Moe Dee.
Yep.
And you know what's weird, man? Every time I think about this song, I remember the first time that I heard it. I actually heard it on the radio.
I know. That's an excellent point, because one thing about a lot of these songs, like Jack the Ripper, it wasn't like this environment now where you have mixtapes and SoundCloud and the internet. You could drop it on you. These been diss tracks to this other nigga as singles.
Yep.
Like, that's fucking crazy to me. That's crazy that you would drop up. Yeah, you get airplay. This nigga's getting spins. You collecting royalties off of a diss track.
Yeah.
And then sometimes go video for the diss rock. Like, it's a single. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think people really can comprehend the process in 88, 86, where your record label would sit down and choose with you, ideally, what your singles were going to be, the shit that was going to represent your album and push your album to platinum, double platinum, gold, whatever the fuck, right? And you submit a diss record to another nigga, and they like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
they're like, so will it this
exactly
be the lead single?
Like, that's not something that is common, and it's hard. It's harder than it sounds to make a diss record that's danceable, that's record playable, that's Jeep playable. All those in one record. Jack the Ripper does all of those fucking things easily. You could seriously bump that shit in a club, and if you really weren't paying attention to the lyrics and the context, you just dancing your ass off. It's not really one of those songs like a Hit 'Em Up where you really dancing to that shit, because you really is lyric heavy. You have to really listen to the context. Jack the Ripper, man, Bobcat, all of that shit was just perfect.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%, man. That is a great song, man. Again, that be one of the records that I think, one of many, that LL just sent a message like, no, you don't want to mess with LL.
Exactly.
You don't want to mess with LL. I mean, my boy Eclectic always calls he always calls LL the GOAT. But
there's a case to be made for it, but I agree with you. I don't think
can make it, and I always joke with him. There's a case. I mean, I would never put him lyrically over somebody like Rakim, but when you look at his longevity and his impact and all of the intangibles, you get no argument from me about LL. He's not, like I said, I wouldn't call him the GOAT, but at this time, 86, 87, I mean, other Run DMC, maybe there wasn't anybody. Well, you can make a case that LL was as big, or if not bigger.
I think
definitely, definitely in the streets.
Yeah.
Again, Jack the Ripper, a diss record is getting airplay. I didn't hear this I heard it on the radio.
That's where I heard it.
People were calling in at the little radio station in my hometown. People were calling and it was like the number one at 9. It was
that's
the
crazy,
number one
man.
requested song. Crazy.
And we both heard it the exact same way.
Wow.
The exact same way on the fucking radio. Like, that is insane.
Yeah. Nowadays you couldn't get somebody's diss record on the radio because it probably got a whole bunch of cussing and stuff in it. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's
so where you going from Jack the Ripper?
I'm gonna keep it in the 80s, man. The Bridge Is Over.
Oh,
BDP.
that was definitely on my list too. Yeah.
We could talk.
That was in
about
my
it,
honorable
man.
mention section though.
Okay. The Over BDP. I got that at 3, man. It helped solidify the Bridge Wars. KRS-One, you can make a case, and he's often said it, that had Marley Marl and MC Shan not responded to him, he would have never had a career. But he took umbrage in the fact that, he took issue with the fact that they, said that hip hop started in Queensbridge when it clearly started in the Bronx. And we all noted it. And
Sedgwick Avenue.
Yep. Sedgwick Avenue. Shout out to Kool Herc. But yeah, man, he went through like the whole Juice Crew almost, dissing Marley Marl.
Including Roxanne. Fuck her too.
He said Roxanne Shante only was fucking.
Right.
MC Shan and Marley Marl only bluffing. Like Dougie Fresh said, I tell you, you ain't nothing.
Yeah.
There's really not much I can say about this. And to Ty's point, if you go to a club and this comes on, people dance.
Can't help it, man,
because
because
single.
that fucking song could put in a dictionary the term boom bap hip hop.
Yep.
That song is it. That song is quintessential, straight up, stripped down. It ain't much to the song. You know what I'm saying? And even if you look at the way the song is structured, it's like chorus, verse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? For song structure.
And he's coming in with this kind of Jamaican patois cadence, which was very different for hip hop in 1987.
Not something heard often at all. You didn't hear that shit often at all. and then he switched out of it. He did a lot on that. And I agree. Maybe he would not have had a career. Definitely not the career he's had if it weren't for basically Shan and the Juice, And I've told you before that my introduction to hip hop, at least as far as I can remember, was Kill That Noise.
Wow.
That's the first song that I remember. I remember being like knowing that it was hip hop. It wasn't fucking Rapper's Delight, because honestly I never fucking liked that song. That's just me. I never fucking liked that song.
Man, that song is like 17 minutes long, man.
Yeah, it's like, nigga, what the fuck are y'all talking about? But I mean, aside from the message, because again, for the youngins, in the mid 80s when I started listening to hip hop, it wasn't really being played on the radio. Not New Orleans. I don't know about it any place else. Maybe New York, it was being played on the radio. I don't fucking know. But you weren't hearing it on the radio. Not at that time. It wasn't very marketable. If you heard it, you had to stay up like 1 o'clock in the morning to hear it, right? At that time, people used to make tapes. They used to dub tapes. And a tape, believe it or not, would make it from Brooklyn all the way down to somebody in New Orleans, right? And that was the first song on that tape. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
And I never really understood at the time. I got it from my cousin, I never really understood what he was talking about. But that first time you heard real hip hop, it caught you.
Oh, no
you were
question.
addicted, period. And I heard Kill That Noise, and I mean, I played that shit over and over and over and over. But I didn't know the context at the time. It was later on I realized that it was, it was a bigger picture to the shit.
Oh, no
And
doubt.
it's,
And
and it's funny now because I don't like that song half as much as I like The Bridge Is Over now.
Right. And usually that's how it goes. And we didn't even know, like, to your point, same here. A tape would be made in Brooklyn or the Bronx, and it would make its way all the way to my hometown, Florence, South Carolina. And we didn't realize, like, I'd been to New York, so I knew, Queens, I knew it was the Bronx, I knew it was Long Island, so forth and so on, Brooklyn. But I didn't realize like the Bridge Wars, that was like really a thing. Like people, when this song came out, like people from Queens did Bronx, people from the Bronx didn't want to go Queens, and vice versa. And right. I don't think I learned really about how deep that ran until I got to like college, some 10, 11, 12 years later. And so, but yeah, that's how it was. And to your point, us getting those tapes and stuff like that, music was so, I guess the picture that we want to paint here is that music was so exclusive. When you got your hands on it, you cherished it. You relished in it, and you wanted to listen to that over and over again because it wasn't something that was readily available. And not to, even when you compare it to today, and I understand technology has changed a lot of stuff. So yeah, you're not gonna get hyped up about album by whoever that came out because all I gotta do is go to iTunes or Spotify and pull it up. There's it's nothing exclusive about it. Everybody got it. It's just
shit's plentiful. It's everywhere now. It's everywhere. In commercials. It's playing at stadiums. Everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So it's like if the new Redman album comes out, and let's say it comes out on Friday, and I'm like, Ty, did you hear it yet? You're like, nah, I'll get to it. To it.
Which is usually my response. Like, I get to that shit, like at some point. Because I know it's going to be, in the 80s, exactly. You didn't know when they were going to ban it. Like, it just felt like something that was going to be taken away from you.
Exactly. So it was almost like a drug back then. Like, you really.
No doubt. Yeah.
When you got still is. Yeah. For us, it is. For us, it is. And we still get that feeling, years later, still listening to that music, hearing Kill That Noise or hearing Bridge Is Over or South Bronx. And again, I was telling my middle son, Cameron, he's 16. I was telling him, I said, if you listen to, because he's into this hip hop now, he's getting the hip hop that we grew up on. And I was telling him, I was like, the thing that you'll notice is that there's nothing, if you listen to the sonics of the music that's actually being played, there's nothing dope about, how the Bridge Is Over. It doesn't, musically, there's nothing.
It's very stripped down.
Very stripped down. And they did the best that they could with whatever equipment they had to kind of put it together. So
hell, I don't even think it starts on beat. The piano, I don't even think it's on beat or on key when it first starts.
We didn't give a shit.
Yeah, no, still don't care. The imperfections make it perfect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so yeah, that's what I got at number 3, man. The Bridge Is Over. What's your next one?
That's a real solid pick, man, because that's one of those that, like you said, I could imagine a lot of people just not even mentioning that song. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely the backbone of hip hop right there.
No doubt.
So, what number am I on? This is my 4th. God damn. So, for this one I got on my list mainly because of the fact that it was more or less a surprise.
Okay.
Because of the way that it came about. And it's sort of like what I was like, this MC, you really didn't know how he was going to respond. You didn't know if he was going to be like, you knew he could, but you weren't really sure, but he needed to, because at this point in hip hop, there was sort of a split between, pack rappers. We was getting into what's called the underground, like the era that we're talking about before, whereas LL and, the Bridge Is Over, there was no such thing as the underground. It was just rap and that was it. There was no mainstream. I mean, I guess you could consider Run DMC mainstream, but to the rest of the world, they were still ground.
Right.
But my 4th one is The Bitchin' You by Common.
Yes.
So,
yes.
This was one of those situations where Q already proven himself as being able to handle himself in a battle. This nigga basically just decapitated NWA. Right?
Right.
For Common to have an issue with him, and you like, I remember when it was Common Sense, first album, Can I Borrow a Dollar? And Common was not, he wasn't soft spoken, but he was more lyrical. He wasn't, you know, the native tongue type of nigga. You weren't thinking of Common as being in that situation where there's somebody's ass, right? So, you know, he makes the song I Used to Love Her, and he made a reference to the fact that, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't want to rap the whole song, but basically when hip hop went out to the West, basically she got this view. Cube took issue with that. And I don't know where he went wrong, because he started saying it basically like, you know, it didn't start in New York, it started in the West. He was just saying a whole bunch of reckless, incorrect shit, right? But he had a lot of pride for his home coast. He heard that lyric and he just fucking went off. So him and his version of the Outlaws is fucking 10, you know, they decide that they're West, you know, because they're West Coast gangsters, right? They gonna jump on this dude. And what is what is Common really gonna do besides ball up and put his tail between his legs? Because, you know, you lyrical, you're not that nigga that's gonna be the shit, right? Or so they thought. And so Common comes back with a song and names Cube in the first fucking line.
Yes.
There's no mistaking. So for us at that time, and I'm gonna say us because there were a lot of us that loved Common and eventually loved, you know, Mos and De La and Tribe and all of these dudes that they weren't violent, they weren't targeted, they were on another plane. Jungle Brothers and all the native tongues. So, you know, you're sitting around listening to your Black Sheep tape or whatever, and somebody lets you know that Cube, that Common responded to Cube. Okay, well, let me hear this shit. I mean, I'm imagining, say it, you know, sort of subliminally, but be real clever about it. Not at all. Not at all. If you haven't heard this song, do yourself a favor, go to fucking YouTube after this show is over and pull that shit up, because it is a blistering, like, just diss track. It's just straight up. And I really do believe that, because I think that ended it, didn't it?
Yeah, that was it. I don't think they ever responded.
I don't think Cube could have responded, and Cube can rap his ass off,
maybe,
right?
Or was that when Farrakhan got in between?
I think Farrakhan did. Okay, but you know, for me, I always felt like that was a good excuse. That wasn't a reason. You know, like, people don't necessarily stop you from doing what you do. It's kind of like this whole thing with Jay Prince and Drake and like, okay, so somebody came out the woodworks and told you stop because you're going to end this nigga career. Right. Oh, okay, all right,
right,
but
right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you had that right. Okay. But you know, I was rooting for Common because I thought he was the underdog. I realized quickly from that song, from the Bitchin' You, he was not an underdog. This motherfucker was playing possum the whole time. You know, so that's why I loved it to death. Like, that's really, really close. I would say if I had to rank it, it's definitely 2 or 3 for me. Top 2 or 3.
Man, this is amazing. I figured that we would probably have at least 2 or 3. It looks like we probably just gonna have one that are the same.
we know that one, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I think you said it best, man. I mean, because I remember Can I Borrow a Dollar? I remember the second album, Resurrection. And like you said,
both good albums.
Yeah, very good albums. And I mean, like, Common wasn't that guy. Like, you would have never thought he was a rough and type cat. And so, you know, for Ice Cube, and we never really got the backstory as to why Ice Cube felt offended by I Used to Love Her, or the line in I Used to Love Her. I mean, and that song is a classic. It's probably a, you know, depending on who you ask, it's a top 10 hip hop song.
Right. From what I heard, though, Cube did say, I don't know if it was on MTV News with Kurt Loder or some stupid shit like that, but I remember him saying that he took issue because he felt like Common was saying that, you know, throughout the song, throughout that timeline of the song, that everything went negative for hip hop when it came out to the West. Like, it came out to the West and they fucked it up.
Okay, gotcha.
So he had a problem with Common portraying hip hop as being pure and the best, and then when it came out to the West, they corrupted her when he said, you know, she was hanging with the boys in the hood, and now she rapped about switches and blunts and all of that other shit, right? So Cube, you know, offense to it. And like I said, I understand sort of how he took offense to it, but I think he blew it out of proportion, and I think he blew it out of proportion because he thought that this was an easy win. I think that he really thought, okay, we're gonna just jump on this nigga, end this nigga career real quick and shut him up. We're gonna Chino XL him real quick and shut him the fuck up, and it'll be over.
Right.
And it didn't go that way at all.
Man, you just took me back with that, man. That is so true, and that speaks volume, like how the mentality was in hip hop. And I'm pretty sure, because I never heard that story about, you know, why he took offense to it. But if you listen to the lyrics, you can understand, and if you were around in that time, you can understand from perspective how he came to feel that way. There was a lot of people that felt that way, like, okay, you know, these cats out west, you know, that ain't, you know, they wasn't rap, you know, they were already, you know, different, if you will, and they sounded different and they looked different, and they weren't rapping about things the cats on the East Coast were rapping about. And so, you know, there was already that type of inferiority, superiority type complex. And then for Common to say what he said, Cube to take issue with it. And yeah, you're right. I think Cube, WC, and Mac 10 felt like, okay, we're just going to lyrically beat this dude up, and he ain't going to say shit. Man,
they had that image. They also had the image to back it up. So exactly. I think they thought, you know, we OG don't say shit to us because you some nigga from from Chicago. You know, you wearing fucking crochet pants or whatnot. You ain't gonna say shit, nigga. But they were wrong.
Oh,
you know, God. And the funny thing about it is that I think in any ways, because I think that the way Common came out with his first shot, I think they kind of took a step back and was like, well, what's this nigga's second shot gonna sound like? Like, do we really want to go in this? Because honestly, let's be truthful. WC can't rap, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. Down to two niggas. Mac 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say is a 6 at best.
Yeah, I'd probably say about 6.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, if you're talking,
he's decent.
He's decent, but when I'm ranking him, I'm talking about in a long running battle.
Oh yeah.
Do you really want Mac 10 in your fucking?
No, he ain't Ice Cube.
You don't.
No.
Yeah, Ice Cube is the only dude that you know. If a battle comes, if it's gonna be a lyrical battle, and you just want that nigga to just keep popping out songs on target, it's Cube. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I don't think that Cube was really anticipating a long, drawn out shit with like a scuffle with fucking. I just don't, and I don't think he would have won. No matter what he would have said, he would not have had, because unfortunately for Cube, Common had a lot more ammunition because Cube had been out fucking 10 years. And he had a lot of shit he could say about Cube.
Yeah,
Cube didn't have that.
Put it all out there. He put it all out there.
Right. And it was just a great song for what it was intended for.
Yeah, man. I love that joint, man. Like you said, I was more surprised. That probably one of the most surprising diss records that I heard, because it just, you didn't really think that there was going to be a response to the West Side Connections song. And, you know, when Common came, man, he came hard. I mean, like, he was calling him out. He ain't even care. And it was just like, gave off that persona like, okay, if y'all want to do this, we can do this. And I got I got bars for days. And I think it's not by coincidence that Minister Farrakhan stepped in and like, hold up, you know, we got to squash this. And, you know, you had two pillars in hip hop. Common wasn't the superstar he was Common Sense at the time. He wasn't the superstar that he is now as far as hip hop is concerned.
Not even close, no.
You know, but he had a voice and he had a following. And the last thing, you know, Cube was riding a high, you know, so he knew that this was probably going to be an easy win. Common showed him,
and it was definitely a knockout. Like, it wasn't hard at all. And I mean, I don't remember what happened first or second, but I think it made Cube vulnerable, because, you know, that shit he had with Cypress Hill. I think Cypress Hill came afterwards. I'm pretty sure that came afterwards. But I think a lot of people afraid. I think when Cube did his thing with NWA, that was one thing. Everybody was like, he had the LL aura. Like, don't fuck with Cube.
Yep.
This nigga will end your fucking career. But, you know, I think Common, and to a lesser degree Cypress Hill, kind of proved, like, you know, you can get at this nigga if you really, because it's only so much he can do. He's only one dude. He don't have he don't have a strong crew at all.
Right.
He doesn't have.
He ain't got a lot of backup.
No, not at all.
Oh man, that is a great one. My number 2 earlier, man, Ether. Again, I thought Nas was dead. I didn't think. I just knew there was no way he could come back from this.
Agreed.
And given the fact that he waited like 8 to 9 months before he even responded, a lot because, and again, different day and time. I mean, there was no social media, so when we didn't hear from Nas, probably a lot of us probably thought he was dead. Not literally, but his career was.
That's close to a year.
Yeah.
That's long.
I mean, time. And then if you think about it, that's usually about how artists back then would put out albums. So maybe we probably, looking back on it, should have known that something was coming, but at that point we just didn't know what Nas had left in. And this song, with the fact that I think the album that Nas had before this song was Nostradamus. Bruh. Because Nas, and I love Nas. Nas is one of the greatest lyricists of all time, but Nostradamus,
you could have kept that one.
Yeah. Even now when I listen to it, there's 2 songs I listen to it on the album. That's it. I won't listen to any other songs on the album. It's just that bad. And it's not, the knock it with Nas had always been, it wasn't necessarily whether or not he could rap. We know he could rap his ass off. But his beat selection and some of the tracks and, just how his flow just didn't match with some of the music that he chose. And, here it is. So he drops Nostradamus. Jay-Z comes back and just comes with this crazy uppercut, knocks his ass into the ropes, out of the ring, basically. We think he's done. And I'll never forget, my boy Zell called me. And he heard Takeover. He heard Ether on a Clue tape. So he got the Clue tape and he's playing it for me over the phone. So you can tell how distorted this shit sounds.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to it. I'm hearing it over the phone for the first time. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yo, he killed Jay-Z. Killed him. I'm like, no, he didn't. I was like, I can barely hear what he's saying. He's like, well, he said this, da 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 da, and telling me everything. And I'm like, nah, Jay won. And so I don't know, man. I scrambled, went a couple of places because back in the day you had to kind of bounce around to try to find your mixtapes. And so I was still in Orangeburg at South Carolina State University, and to my man who normally has a hookup on mixtapes, and I bought the tape. And the first song that was on there was Ether, and I listened to it, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, what is this? And like you said earlier, you could get 5 people in a room, and nobody's going to agree as to who won that battle. I will admit on my podcast that I initially said that Jay-Z won. Looking on, ain't no way in hell Jay-Z won. Now, if you say Jay-Z won, I'll listen to you, but I think Nas won.
I think there's a case somebody could probably try to make that says Jay-Z won, but the fact that Ether became a verb,
right,
like more people remember Jay-Z being ethered,
right,
than anything else. You know what I'm saying?
And
like, I think that
he had
song,
to come with Super Ugly after Ether dropped, and Super Ugly wasn't. I mean, he could have kept that shit. So that right there, then and of itself,
that was a desperation track. Like, he was just kind of like, I gotta say something, but it wasn't Takeover. It wasn't like that. Like, you verses for Takeover and drop one, okay, and then save them for when this nigga came back, because Super Ugly was like one of those. It's like wonk wonk,
right?
Man,
and even to the point where his own mother made him go to Hot 97 and apologize basically on the radio. She was just like, nah, that's too much. Like, you out of line. And so
at least he didn't write a statement. He didn't have a PR. That would fucking whack if that should ever have happened.
Right. So I mean, it was so much Nas said in that. I mean, he said, and his manuscript just sounds so stupid when KRS already made an album called Blueprint. First, Biggie's your man. Then you got the nerve to say you're better than Big. Dick sucking lip. Why don't you let the late great veteran live? That was huge because up until that point, the streets were very critical of Jay-Z using Biggie's verses in his rhyme. Now, Jay went on to say that, he would use a big verse, as him paying homage and respect to his brother that was, tragically killed. But the streets didn't see it like that. The streets felt like he was biting and using Biggie's lines and some of his shine, even in his death. And Nas just really picked apart that one particular line and just, it was almost like he was just picking at each little thing. It was almost like he wrote down a list of shit to say about Jay-Z, and he was like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to give me a little bit of this.
Checklist.
I'm going to check all the boxes.
Checking them off.
And, and I mean, he just, I'll put it like this. The fact that Jay-Z was able to stand and still have a career after Ether says a lot about Jay-Z as well. So even in defeat, I think he still won. I mean, obviously he won the battle, but Nas won the battle, but he lost the war because obviously he ended up signing with, Jay-Z or whatever. And I guess they've never said it publicly, but I'm sure they probably agreed to never perform those songs again or whatever like that. Because I've never heard Nas perform that, since they quote unquote squashed the beat.
I really think it served a greater purpose though, because I think it solidified both of them being around pretty much in hip hop forever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no question.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get rid of Nas without getting rid of Jay-Z and vice versa. Like, if you keep one around, you got to get the other around because they're tied together as having an epic battle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to talk about any diss record and not talk about that exchange.
Oh, no question. And you touched on it earlier. I think even now in 2018, at the time of this recording, when people talk about beefs and diss records, that's the first thing that they go back to. Oh, well, this is nice, but it ain't Ether and Takeover.
Right.
Right. So they're synonymous. So I couldn't have one in without the other. But yeah, man, this is right. I got it at 2, man. It is a phenomenal diss record. And he came with the facts. I mean, he came with the facts and he laid it out and he aired and, to the point where again, Nas waited, like I said, 8-9 months to drop this. And I think after this came out, I want to say Super Ugly came out in like 2 days. So Jay was like, he was like, oh shit, I can't wait. I can't let this shit rest. This niggas talking about it too much. I'm literally riding around and hear niggas play Ether from their fucking car stereos. I gotta drop something. I gotta get this shit off of me. Right.
Maybe Super Ugly will do it.
Yeah.
Nope.
So I mean,
Nope.
It goes what I say. Like you said, ether is now a verb. So I mean, like people talk about, they use the word ethered, and they don't even necessarily have to be talking about rap per se.
Right.
So
right. So
that too. All right, man.
And
so
go
ahead.
One last thing on that though, I do think it can't be overstated that the environment at that time was that I think most Nas fans didn't know how he was going to respond. Afraid, but excited. Mm-hmm. Like nobody saw this coming.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like this wasn't like after a couple of years, everybody pretends that they knew Nas was going to be able to. No, nobody fucking knew that.
Even the biggest.
Don't let them lie to
that.
you. Nobody knew. I think everybody knew Nas would eventually respond, but I think that we all thought it was going to be so complex and so story late that it wasn't really going to be something that we could lads nigga kill Jay-Z. Like I think most of us thought he would definitely respond, and it would definitely be clear he was going to respond to Jay-Z. But I don't think anybody saw Ether coming.
Yeah, I
think that's the reason why it's. Yeah, I think that's the reason why it is where it is. Most people didn't see him coming that hard, that direct, that focused, and being factual. I don't think anybody saw all of those boxes being checked from Nas. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? New York State of Mind, Nas.
Yes.
Now, I don't think I Rule the World, Nas. I don't think you saw it from that guy, but he did it. And as a result, you really didn't see anybody trying to test either one of them. Not seriously.
No.
There's some clowns come along every now and again, but not serious lyricists that people decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to test Nas. No, you probably won't. You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah,
before Ether, maybe, but not after Ether. Post Ether, you don't want to do that shit.
Right. This was Ali Frazier. That's exactly what this was. This was Ali Frazier. Both of them, and if you can look at the track record, I think it went on to, because obviously this song appears on the Stillmatic album, which is an incredible album. So it got Nas back on track as from, and you know, it solidified Jay-Z, you know, because he was able to take that punch and he still stayed on top. And you know, and they both went there, and they both kind of ascended after that, even more so than where they were. And
just casual hip hop fans, the ones that were kind of spectators, you know, the niggas that just be they own it only when it's hot. I think a lot of them actually heard that song and got sucked up into the drama and realized that these dudes are really lyrics. That's why Jay-Z's so special. That's why Nas is so special. Niggas ain't been talking about Nas since '92 for no fucking reason.
Right.
This is the reason why.
Exactly.
This is the reason. The same reason why I know that right now nobody better not mention LL. Yeah, NCIS and all that other shit, but guess what? You better not fucking do it, because I wholeheartedly that he could come out and rip somebody a new ass. Man, I believe that.
At 50 years old,
you know what I'm saying?
He'll do it right now.
Exactly. And that's still based off of what? Jack the fucking Ripper. You know what I'm saying? The song is older than the nigga that probably would test it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But I know he could do it. And you don't want to find out whether or not he could do it. And I think Nas and Jay-Z will be in that same class. That Ether and Takeover is going to put them in that class where it's like, yeah, they're old, maybe out of touch in your opinion, but I wouldn't test them.
Nah, you can't test them. I mean, for one, they're lyrically on such a level to where they're not going to respond to anybody. You know, I mean, if Nas ain't paying attention to that. You know,
all you can do is make him famous, and that's the downside of these battles, these diss records, is because if you get dissed by somebody who doesn't matter, you know, Machine Gun Kelly come along, all you can do is make this nigga famous.
That's it.
That's all you can do. You can't loot. You can't.
Nope.
You cannot win that battle. You know,
the only battle you can win is unless you're going against another heavyweight such as yourself. That's it.
Yeah, that's the only way. And on a side note, it just made me think about. I promised myself I wouldn't talk about Drake and Pusha T, but just one short thing. I've always felt like there was no way either one of those guys could lose that battle. I think I said it on our podcast. I don't remember if I did or didn't, but I never thought that it was a way that Pusha T could lose that battle and Drake could lose that battle, because fans are looking for something different. You know, Pusha T's camp is looking for straight up authenticity.
That's it.
You're looking for lyrical content. You're looking for real hip hop shit. Drake's never going to win that battle. That's your standard. Drake's camp is looking for hits. They're looking for mainstream. This nigga can make the club, you know, the club bangers. Pusha T is never going to be that guy. Nope. So he can't win that battle. So no matter how long they went back and forth, be disrespectful, whatever, each guy was going to be right where they started.
Right where they started. Yeah. And you know what's funny is that, like, and I tell anybody, I think, at least for me, I think I know for a fact Pusha T.
Yeah, he did.
But I think.
But see, that's based on our standards.
Yeah, it's based on my standards. Because I don't care nothing about Kiki. I don't give a damn about no Kiki. But right. You know, but being on Twitter, man, and you know, you and I, we talk about this stuff, and because we're hip hop heads, like we'll talk to each other about hip hop on Twitter, but we really don't try not to.
We regularly ignore 99% of Twitter when it comes to hip hop. It's like, yo, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I heard the fuck you're gonna say, okay, and I don't need to know where you're coming from. So why get into an argument I already know I'm gonna get into when I just end this shit by ignoring you?
Ignore you. I remember when some dude he sent me a mention, and who is Pusha T? I was like, bro, if you're a Drake fan and you gotta ask who Pusha T is, no, we don't need to talk. We don't need to talk. We can just keep it like it is, bro. You just keep doing whatever it is you do. And I had to go look. I'm like, okay, this person follow, because if they followed them, but they didn't follow me,
you couldn't even block them.
Yeah, I couldn't even block them. I was like,
just gotta ignore this cat.
Ignore this fool. But
it's like you got to take classes to catch up to me to be able to have a conversation like that, because, you know, not no means do I believe I'm some hip hop guru or anything. I just know what I know. I know what I've experienced, you know what I'm saying, musically, but there's a lot of shit I don't know.
Right.
There's a lot of classic albums, classic verses. I've never heard them. There's a lot of classic albums I don't own. I'll be truthful. You know what I'm saying? I don't know it, but there's certain things that if you've been in the culture long enough, there's certain things that you know, A1 from the beginning, who Drake is. And from the beginning, you know who Pusha T is. You know where this battle's going. You know you kind of can see it, you know, and that was just one of those things. But like I said, I promise I wasn't going to talk about them cats because they really don't belong. You know, I don't feel like they really belong in this conversation because that was some other shit. That the best I could say about that is it was reminiscent of some of the older shit where niggas actually just really got on the mic and said what the fuck they felt and was direct about it. But outside of that, that shit wouldn't even make my top 20, much less.
And that's what I was telling people on Twitter. I was like, nah, it's not. I mean, the minute Drake got on there and said, you know, well, you can't make it personal. You know, huh? There's
roots to the shit. Like what? Who told you that? Who told you you don't have no friends around you, partner?
Yeah. Somebody
not no friends that know you.
And here's the thing, like he's connected to Jay Prince. I'm like, you talking about it? Come on, man.
If ever there was a person that knows there's no rules, it should have been Jay Prince to tell you. Man. That shit gets tough sometime, my nigga. You make the statement, respond.
Yeah, exactly. He released a statement on the blackface, which I thought was, I mean, to me that's what warranted a more deeper statement than anything else was the blackface cover. I mean,
right, exactly.
Having a son from a IG model, I mean, that's your business, but
shit happens.
Yeah,
but the blackface, you can't claim that was a mistake. That wasn't a slip up. That was, and I mean, he explained it with an excuse. And the reason I said that's fine is because people like me and you, it doesn't matter. We're not going to listen to his music any more or less than we did before. And his fans are not going to care.
Nope.
So nothing's going to change.
He's still going to stream 7 gazillion streams and he's still going to be popular.
There's no accountability in hip hop no more. There's accountability. You got motherfuckers that they will actually defend a rapist. You know, you want to talk about no rules? There's no rules in hip hop in general. So don't say that there's rules in battle rapping, but you benefit in any rules or any accountability. But and look, I'm not gonna get on a rant about that.
We ran on damn Drake.
Yeah.
Number one for me, man, I'm pretty sure it's on your list. No Vaseline.
Absolutely. That's the only one I was sure about.
Yeah, I knew that's the only one I was sure we would have this. I thought we might have more, but given the fact that this is the only one that we have, that makes it even better for the podcast. I think. Man, I guess the thing I can what can I say about it? I guess the biggest thing is to paint the picture for those who weren't around. You know, in the world's most dangerous crew, right? And so Ice Cube, for those, and I'm pretty sure most of you listening saw the movie if you weren't around. You know, he leaves for, given the fact that because he wasn't getting paid. And at that time, we had heard of, singers leaving groups to go solo, but there was no rappers leaving no groups to go solo. You know what I'm saying?
Usually groups just broke up.
Yeah, they just broke up.
Bad Boys would just break up and nobody made music no more.
That was it. I quit. Okay, we all quit. And that was the thing. And you got out of the contract like that. But for Cube to leave and then, he was going about his business, and then they make a diss record calling Benedict Arnold, a whole nine. And so when we hear No Vaseline, God, man, this
God damn, I'm glad y'all said it. What?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. I mean, like, he rips every asshole. I mean, everybody. He said, because you let a Jew break up my crew. Now, that was cold as hell because in hip hop, it was very common that, we as blacks were fine, but the people that were making the money, were white and Jewish men. And so when he said that, I was like, whoa. I remember the first time I heard, I was like, whoa, he say that? Again, I can go into the lyrics. He killed me with, I never had dinner with the president. I never had dinner with the president. Eazy-E had dinner with the late George
Reagan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was it Reagan or Bush?
Was it Reagan or Bush? I can't remember.
I thought it was Reagan, but it might have been Bush. It probably was Bush. I don't know. Fuck, I don't remember now. He had
dinner with the president.
Yeah.
You can't be a gangster rapper having dinner at the White House with the president unless it's Barack Obama. I mean,
and we were a long way away from
we ain't know the possibility of Obama could even exist.
No.
But he had dinner with and that was facts. And so now it makes you as a street guy look like a rat, a snitch, or whatever the case, because you're dining at the White House. Jerry Curl, Jerry curled down with a tuxedo on. Man,
What's really interesting about this for me is that I was a huge NWA fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Same
after
here.
NWA and the Posse, like from Straight Outta Compton, I believe these guys.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was within no wrong NWA could do. I love that shit. I still love it. You know what I'm saying? I still listen to it. I don't know why, but I do. I still love the music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once Cube, you know, it came out that he was leaving, you would think, you know, because like you said, that was uncharted territory. It wasn't something that happened every day. So you really didn't know, okay, well, he's going to leave and I guess he's going to fucking retire. I don't know. I mean, he's going to go solo. So what, I don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to get other niggas to rap and take their place? And are they going to get some, like, we didn't know. Not really. But when they dropped 100 Miles and Running, it was pretty clear that they were feeling some type of way about it. And, you know, so, okay, this is not one of those situations where these niggas is getting along. They not only have broken up, but they don't like each other no more.
Right.
So, like you said, when No Vaseline came out, 100 Miles and Running was the Benedict Arnold and all of that shit. It wasn't one of those things where they just tried to drop a bomb on Cube. They just addressed it, said what they had to say, and that was the end of it. You know, like, it wasn't at the level of No Vaseline.
No.
It was like, to me, like NWA threw a rock at Cube's house and he went and burned their shit down. You know, like, was that the appropriate response, Cube? Like,
Right. We
you know,
knew
but
it would come like that.
yeah, no, but and like you said, he picked them off one by one, and it was all pretty much, as far as we could tell, factual, to the point where basically I still believe that one song spawned the best NWA album in my, because Dre went into that studio motivated like a motherfucker when they made Niggas for Life.
Yeah.
And I just think that was that album was good front to back. I really think they should have just left out the Cube references.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Lyrically, yeah, it was something to be desired, but it still was a hot ass album. You know what I'm saying? So Cube really, I think he pretty much put the nail in their coffin.
Yeah.
Because even with that hot ass album, they really couldn't sustain. I mean, it got to the point where they started fighting each other. You know what I'm saying?
Because everything that he brought up about their contracts was true.
Yeah. And they started realizing it. And once they started realizing it, how can you continue to wait?
Nope.
How can you? Now you want to leave, right? So now you're listening to this record. You want to diss the guy, but then at the same time, what he's saying is fact, and you realizing it. You're looking at your contract, and now you want to leave, and now you feel just like this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
He said, get rid of that devil real simple. Put a bullet in his temple. Beat a nigga for life crew with a white Jew telling you what to do. Pulling wolves with your scams. Now gotta play the silence of the lambs with a midget who's a punks too. Trying to fuck me, but I'd rather fuck you. Eric right into something, getting fucked that night by Mr. Shitpacker. Bend over for the goddamn cracker, no Vaseline. And ends it.
Told them niggas that he getting money out their ass like a motherfucking
Ready
teller.
teller.
You know, like every single line of that song was extremely, like, Cube was on one when he did that. Like, I don't know if he'd ever get, like I said, and for those who are listening, this is the reason why responding to this guy, because that happened afterwards, was so amazing, because we knew this was No Vaseline Ice Cube that decided to deal with what essentially was a backpack rapper. And Common showed up. So, you know, No Vaseline, I just, you know, that's probably the pinnacle of diss records for me.
Same here. I mean, it's personal, but it's factual. I mean, like, he didn't you go through fabricate anything in this. Everything was his truth, and to the point of, you know, NWA never came with another official diss record to respond.
How could they? Who was going to write it? You know, who was going to write that shit? After Cube left, the strongest lyricist they had was Ren, and that's not really saying that much.
Nope.
You know, that's all they had. Dre had to get somebody to write his lyrics. Easy had to get somebody to write his lyrics. That's Ren.
Yep. And it's not to say Ren was dope, but
no, but you stretch too thin. You got to write all these lyrics, and you might have ghostwriters here and there, but that's hard. That's really difficult when you're just writing regular material. But then when you got two other niggas talking about write for that nigga for me, like, yo.
And you made a good point. I never really thought about it. If they leave Cube out of if they leave the Cube references out of Niggas for Life album, then maybe that's not the last. Well, I guess the contractual stuff. Maybe it probably would be, but still, that was so really we only get two NWA. As great as NWA is, Hall of Famers, we only get two albums. I mean, now their impact is far felt, and I mean,
that says a lot, though.
It does.
That says a lot out of two albums. I guess you could say three because the NWA and a Posse album. But I don't really count that with like 7 niggas on the cover. I didn't know who was in the group and who wasn't. But,
everybody.
Yeah. Right, but yeah, so we could say 2 albums, and to change the entire landscape of hip hop, really did that with one album. Honestly,
yeah, they did.
They really did that with Straight Outta Compton. And the music. I mean, the movie. For a lot of people, I don't want anybody to get the impression that you could really get from that movie. It doesn't. No. It gives you kind of a backstory. That's a dramatization, but really, the music is the best way to figure that shit out. If you just listen to it in chronological order, you'll know who these niggas was and what they was about, and just factor in the fact that a lot of us believe that they were who they were.
Yep. Yeah. We. I mean, everybody they shot or beat up, we believed it.
Believed it on that. On that first album.
1988, man. We didn't have the internet. We had no choice but to believe that what they. Because I mean, you weren't living in L.A. I wasn't living in L.A. So I mean,
not at all. I had to take their word for it.
Yeah, gang life. There were no gangs in Florence, South Carolina, in 1988.
And they were on MTV with fucking AK-47s.
Yeah.
This is not. It's not like I said, sophisticated enough at pre-teens and shit to know that that's marketing. That's an image. You don't know that. You just know these niggas talk about shit on the album, and then he got a fucking gun skill. Like, they really live like this. These niggas are really real. Like,
they hard.
Yeah.
Oh man. Right. Let me see. I got some honorable mentions. I'll just run them down. Hell, you named a couple of them. 10%.
You're gonna go with Tim Dog.
No, not Tim Dog didn't make it. 10% Diss, Jack the Ripper, Against All Odds, Who Shot You, Biggie. What's that?
That particular track, I never really felt like that was a diss record.
You know what? When I look back at it, because I try to look at it came out shortly after Pac got shot. And people always attribute this to him dissing Pac.
Right. But wasn't it recorded before Pac got shot?
I think it was. But
I think it was just bad or
bad
really,
timing.
I don't know. I was about to say bad timing, but I was like, knowing Puffy, it was advantageous timing.
Right. So I always kind of counted it as a diss, even though he really doesn't mention Pac. But
that beat was simple.
Gosh, yeah. So the streets always kind of lean toward that being a diss. So it wouldn't make my top 10, but it makes my honorable mention. Right. And last but not least, Dre Day. I like Dre Day. I always like Dre Day. So those are my honorable mentions. You said, I know you got a few more.
Yes, I do.
What you got?
Know it. So Dollars and Cents from DJ Quick.
Okay.
That. DJ Quick was always one of them cats that I'm a fan of as well. Like, I don't know. I really never knew where people stood on DJ Quick. I never really gave a fuck. I like Quick. You know what I'm saying?
I like Quick.
And yeah, so Quick had an issue with MC8. I don't really remember what the fuck the reasoning was, but just like I was talking about with NWA, I believed MC8 as well. You know what I'm saying? I never doubted MC8, right? But particular song, he just really took MC8 apart lyrically. And I mean, Quick can rap his ass off. So it wasn't one of those situations where, he was afraid. It was just that's just a really good track to me. Second Round KO by Cannabis.
Yes.
That one, that had to be on there just because of the fact that kind of like in that scenario, to me, Cannabis is taking that common role. Whereas like, who the fuck is ever gonna get close to LL? And like we said earlier, you don't fuck with LL.
Nope.
You don't fuck with LL. Don't pull on Superman's cape. Leave this nigga alone, right? I think that's the closest anybody's ever gotten. to really touch an LL. I think that's the close as far as I can remember.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that think
anybody's
that
ever
Canada's
got.
won.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that he won, but
yeah,
second round knockout was, bruh. He did his thing, and he came with the facts. He went right at LL, and he didn't back down. So,
and for a young nigga, you know, I mean, he, for him to be, I mean, because that shit started just because the 4-3-2 track that basically LL kind of punked him, took his fucking verse off and shit.
Yeah, that was whack.
Yeah, it was whack, but it was like one of those veteran things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess LL was a prima donna at the time, but honestly, hadn't he earned it? You know what I'm saying? He was a fuck. You know, I mean, hip hop wise, no, he shouldn't have done it, but I applaud Cannabis for not taking that shit laying down and just be like, well, he's the veteran, and I'ma just no. The nigga was like, fuck you. I'ma write some shit. Oh, I mean, obviously, you know, LL responded, but I think that's the closest anybody's ever gotten.
Yeah,
because I don't think LL got close. I don't think, I mean, not LL, Kumo D ever got close. I don't think any of his other challenges ever really got as close as Cannabis.
I agree totally.
So that was in a sense the second round knockout, and one of my other ones was Big Mama from Roxanne Shante.
Okay.
So
she dissed everybody.
And that's why I like it, because, you know, at some point you do have to realize that a lot of these MCs are human. And at this particular moment, Roxanne Shante really had spent a lot of time not getting any her lyrical abilities. You know what I'm saying? Because she just came out in an era where it was really masculine. And it's hard for a woman to kind of carve out her role. Yeah, she had her role in the Juice Crew, but, you know, for the most part, a lot of times crews had girls and the girl of the crew. You weren't necessarily on the same level as the guys. They didn't see you that way. You were just a girl that could spit, right? So Shante had been holding her own for a long fucking time. And then over time, you start seeing Salt and Pepper, Latifah, MC Lyte, fucking women. They come together and they're pretending, or in her eyes, pretending like they're the originators. And she's like, I've been doing this shit way before you motherfuckers. Y'all owe me. And as a result, she decided to just go in on them. I just added that. You know what I'm saying? So that definitely was one of my honorable mentions just because of that. But yeah, that's really about it. Because I mean, everything else is not necessarily I would consider a diss, because like I said, I did jot down the Biggie song, the Who Shot You, just because everybody believes it is a diss.
Right.
I could see how it could be construed that way, because it makes sense. You know, nigga gets shot, you were going to be at the studio, and then you come out with a song called Who Shot You. Kind of weird, you know what I'm saying? Like,
crazy ass beat.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, if nothing else, whatever it's categorized as, it's a hot ass song.
Yes.
So, you know, it needs to be on everybody's list for something. You know, that's Biggie. So that's all I had, man. I mean, a lot of them, you know, like I said, that criteria that I laid out in the front, y'all pay no attention to that, because I can't really stick to that for all of them, but that's where my mind is.
That was perfect, though.
That's what I notice in my thread. Like, usually that's what gets me up about a fucking diss track, usually.
No doubt. Well, man, before we get out of here, man, tell the people where they can find you and catch you on the social media.
Oh, man. Yeah, you catch me on Twitter. If you want to talk about hip hop, we ready now. I will ignore you if I need to. But if not, you catch me at 77th_wonder on Twitter. Truthfully, you could catch our podcast at Tackless, because 99, let's say 100% of the time, I'm the one tweeting. Let's just be truthful here.
There you go.
My counterpart, a lot of times, she just like, fuck that. So I try to keep up with this. So y'all can hit me in either one of those. You'll be talking to me.
No doubt. The podcast drops every Monday. You find it. Y'all there, right?
Yeah, man. We I don't even know where we are now, because every now and again we'll get an email and somebody will say they picked us up, but the podcast is Tackless Podcast, the Tackless Know-It-Alls, right? So, that podcast is very different from what we're talking about here. A lot of it is It's a Blackity Black podcast. Let me just put it that way. Okay. So we don't talk about hip hop too much. It's me and my wife. So a lot of times she'll glaze over when we talk about hip hop too much because she grew up with hip hop, but a fanatic, not as a fan. She just was kind of a casual. Yeah, I like that song. She just dealt with singles. So we don't really get into it too much on there unless Kyle come over to the crib and then I force her and we talk about it. So check us out. Technically, we try to put it up Sunday night. That's also me. Roll the dice, man. It'll be there Monday morning.
It'll be there Monday morning.
That's all I can promise
you that. It'll be there Monday morning for your drive. Right. If you're like me and you want to get a fix in on the way to work.
Word. Yeah, exactly.
You guys been listening long enough. Y'all know how to find me. The information's everywhere. I'm everywhere. As always, thanks for checking out the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. So for my boy Ty, I'm your boy 12 Kyle. We'll catch you guys next time. 5 Gs.
Later, y'all.